Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. Diatonic chords is something that's really important to check out, that you really want to know for all the scales that you're using when you're improvising. In this video I'm going to show you how you construct diatonic chords, how you can play them, and I'm also going to give you some exercises that are going to help you learn them and also get an overview of the diatonic harmony contained in a major scale. If you want to understand and play chord progressions like jazz standards, then the diatonic chords are going to help you sort of put the chords in a context, understand what extensions you can add and how you can work with them. And of course you also want to remember that the diatonic chords can be turned into the diatonic arpeggios, which is really the vocabulary that you also need to use when you're improvising over a chord progression like that. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, improve the way that you improvise, check out some interesting arpeggios or chord voicings, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. The first thing we should look at is just how to construct the diatonic chords of a major scale. So if we take a C major scale, that will be these notes, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. And the way that you're constructing diatonic chords is that you take that scale and then you stack thirds within it. Now stacking thirds means that you're going up a third within the scale, so C is the root in the first chord here, and then I'm gonna skip the D and take the E in there as well, and then skip the F and go up to the G because that's the diatonic third up from E, and then I can do that same idea one more time, then I have a B. So now I have a C, an E, a G, and a B, and that's a C major 7. And I can do the same for D minor because we have D, F minor third, A, so the fifth, and the C, and then I have a D minor 7. And then of course in the same way we can build E minor 7 and then F, A, C, E, so F major 7, G7, and then the A minor 7, and then the B half diminished, which is this one, and then back on C major 7. So now we have a chord on each note of the scale. So for the first one, we have a C major 7, and these voicings are a little bit easier to play, and you probably know them already. And then we have a D minor 7 for the second, for the third, minor 7, major 7, the dominant 7 on the fifth, minor 7 on the sixth, and then the half diminished, so the minor 7 flat 5 on the seventh, and then back on the tonic here with a major 7. And this order of chords is really what you want to know, because this is the same for all the different scales. So you can kind of map this on all scales, all major scales that you want to do. And you can of course do the same process with a melodic minor or with a harmonic minor scale and then get the diatonic chords of that. So when we're playing this, the easiest way to play this right now is probably just to do these drop 2 voicings. They're a little bit easier than the stacks of thirds that I played first. And it's also practical if we want to start to do some different progressions, to not only have to slide around on the 5th string, maybe to also have some chords that have the root on the 6th string. And if I look at the first note here that I have fretted on the 6th string, that's an F. So if I want to play diatonic chords in the key of C major, then I'm now starting on F. And as you probably remember, F is a major 7. So first we get a major 7. The next one is a 5th degree, so that's dominant 7, G7. A minor 7, B half diminished, C major 7, so now we're up on the 1 chord here, and then of course we get minor 7, and then another major 7. So now I have chords for C major with the root on the 5th string and on the root on the 6th string, and I can start making some exercises. The first exercise I would suggest that you start doing is to just try and take the diatonic chords and play them in different keys. If we take the key of A flat major, so you need to know the notes of A flat major. So in this case that would be A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, and then we're back on A flat. So I'm now playing that because it's easy to start on the root here on the 6th string. So if I start here, I'm gonna have major 7, B flat minor 7, C minor 7, D flat major 7, E flat 7, F minor 7, then the G half diminished, and then back on A flat major 7. And if I want to explore this on the A string, then I start with B flat as the lowest note that I have, and B flat is of course the second note in the scale, so that's a minor 7. And then I can just go through the row like that. So B flat minor, C minor, D flat major 7, E flat 7, F minor 7, G half diminished, A flat major 7, and back on B flat. The next exercise I think you should do is to try and play some sort of pattern, but then really using the diatonic chords. So an easy pattern to do, for instance, is to play the scale in thirds. So you probably know the sound of that already because that's this, even though I'm playing it on one string. So if I play that with diatonic chords in the key of C major, then we get C major, E minor, D minor, F major, E minor, G7, F major, A minor, G7, B half diminished, A minor, and then up to C, B half diminished, D minor, and then back to C. So of course, this way of working, it's not a real progression. It's not something that you're going to come across that often. At the same time, you're actually connecting different chords that are closely related. And I think you can hear that very often, that C major and E minor are closely related. And also, if you're improvising, then an E minor arpeggio will work extremely well for a C major chord. So there are some things that are anyway sort of useful in just having connected these two pairs of chords. Another exercise that's a little bit closer to actually playing chord progressions is to play through the diatonic harmony, but then moving not in thirds, but in fifths. So in this case, I'm moving all down a fifth or up a fourth. And the way I want to do this is I'm going to use sort of both string sets, so the voicings that have the root on the sixth and also on the fifth string. And I'm doing that because then the chords just connect better and it's a little bit easier to play. And it's probably also the way you want to play if you're playing a song where you have similar chord progressions. So if I do that through C, starting on C major, I have C, and then I'm going to go up a fourth to F, and then I'm going to go down a fifth. So of course, up a fourth from C to F is the same as going down a fifth. So that's the same root movement. So if I go first up a fourth, I can go down a fifth to B half diminished. Then the next one, up a fourth to E minor, and then down a fifth to A minor, and then D minor, and then G7, and then I'm back on C. And I actually had all the chords just using that pattern. And this is something that's really closer to a normal progression. In fact, if we start this on A minor, then we get A minor to D minor to G7 to C to F major 7, B half diminished, and then if I change the E into an E7, so E7 flat 9 to A minor, then I'm actually playing Fly Me to the Moon. So that has that progression. If you look at a song like Autumn Leaves, that's also just that type of movement for the first 8 bars. But the difference is here that because we want to, in this case, end on the 6th chord, on the minor chord, we want to have a real dominant there. And that's of course something you can also do instead of just doing the diatonic chord sequence like this and then staying with just the diatonic chords. You can start on the 6th degree and then also just change that last chord to get a perfect cadence, and you're going to have something that's closer to a few more songs. The reason that I can keep on publishing videos every week is that I have a community of people that are supporting me over on Patreon. I'm very grateful for their support, and if you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. If you join us over on Patreon, I can also give you something in return for your support. The idea of changing the E minor into an E7 so that we have a complete cadence, so B half diminished to E7 flat 9 to A minor, is something that's actually opened up for another exercise that is a little bit more working with theory, but is also at the same time really useful if you want to recognize progressions in a jazz standard, in a chord progression, because you're going to have diatonic chords in the key of whatever key the progression is in, but you're also going to have a lot of cadences to the chords in the key. So of course you already know that the cadence in C major, so the basic cadence is a 2-5-1. So D minor 7, G7 to C major. But actually you can have a cadence for all the chords within this scale. And the only distinction you have is you have to look at whether the chord that you are making cadence to is a major or a minor chord. So if it's a major chord, you just do a regular 2 minor 7, 5 7 to 1 major 7 or 1 dominant 7. And then if it's a minor chord, then you use a 2 that's a half diminished. So in this case, if it's D minor, then we use the 2 in D minor is E half diminished. And then you get an A7 flat 9 to D minor. If I do that through the whole scale, then I get this. So what we get here is that the first chord is of course just the regular 2-5. The second chord is a minor chord, so we get half diminished, so E half diminished, A7 to D minor. The third chord is an E minor, so we get a minor cadence, so that's F sharp half diminished to B7 to E minor. Then F major 7, that's a regular 2-5. G minor 7 to C7 to F. So is the one for G7, because G7 is a dominant chord but it's still a major chord. So we get A minor 7, D7 to G7, and then of course a minor cadence to A minor. And also for the B half diminished, that's a minor chord. So we get C sharp half diminished to F sharp 7 to B half diminished, and then we're back. And as you can see, sometimes the 2 chord and sometimes both the 2 and the 5 is not in the scale originally, because we're just looking at what the root is, and then from the root you construct what a 2 and what a 5 is, and that's not relative to the C major scale, that's just relative to that root, which means that the 2 in B is a C sharp and the 5th is an F sharp. So none of those notes are actually in a C major scale, but that's also why this is called a secondary cadence, because a secondary cadence is something that you pull into the progression to help you make a cadence to something that's not the tonic. So in that way, it's secondary. If you want to check out some more information on how you can analyze chord progressions, then check out this video where I talk about how to analyze a chord progression that's a jazz standard. If this is the first time you see one of my videos and you want to learn more about jazz guitar, then subscribe to my channel. And if you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. That's about it for this time. Thank you for watching, and until next time.